I learned very soon in the game that, you can be aggressive and be respectful at the same time. You can be, kind and not be weak. It was just, respect and kindness and getting most from your team, um, without being rude or without being dominating, like really being that team player and that servant leader where you're just a partner, right, in the process.
Welcome to the Leaders in Tech podcast. I am your host, David Mancella. This podcast is dedicated to interviewing the leaders in technology that are changing this world for a better place. People sometimes, most of the times, behind the scenes that nobody knows about, but they are responsible for breakthroughs in our communities. They are responsible for making the economy thrive. They are responsible for bringing innovation and change, positive change into our lives. And today we have with us a classic example of that. Reshma, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Beautiful. Reshma, can you please, for the audience, tell me your full name, where do you live, and what do you do for a living?
Sure. I'm Reshma Ombase. I live in Kansas City with my husband, Abi, and my son, 3-year-old son, Arav. I'm a senior director, technology product management with Optum, which is a United Health Group company. And UHG is a healthcare and well-being company with a mission to help people live healthier lives and make the health system work better for everybody.
Oof, I cannot wait to get into this podcast. This is amazing. Tell me a bit more about Optum and how is it affecting healthcare in the country?
Sure. So I'll start with UHG. UHG is a massive, huge organization. We're 380,000 colleagues in two distinct and complementary businesses working to help build, modern, high-performing health system through improved access. So Optum is one of the arms, and United Health Group is the other arm. So Optum delivers care aided by technology, data empowering, people, partners, and providers, really creating systematic solutions to take the complexity out of the system, right? The healthcare system. In United Healthcare, on the other hand, offers a full range of health benefits, enabling affordable coverage, simplifying the healthcare experience, and delivering high quality care. I specifically lead, I'm head of the Solutran product department, which sits within the Optum financial pillar, and it is a fintech arm, and Solutran specifically provides innovative and modern solutions for healthcare, wellness, nutrition, OTC benefits on behalf of about 23 major health plans currently. Very, very exciting space.
This is beautiful. And I tell you why. I run a software consulting company called ISU Corp, and you just mentioned our strongholds, what we actually do. We do a lot of fintech, we do a lot of healthcare, and we do a lot of insurance. And you have encompassed every single one of our industries in one organization. This is incredible.
It's incredible. It's a huge company full of opportunities, run by some great leaders. There's something to learn every single day. So grateful to be part of it.
So is the overall organization only focused on the US, or there is other arms in other countries?
There are other arms in other countries. There are smaller units in Canada. There are Philippines where we have operations, and India is one of the biggest ones where we have both tech and business arms in India as well.
That is incredible. So international company too. And what is most amazing is having you as a director of this silo, of this arm focused on financial technology. So let's look back and see how you got there. So a big part of this podcast is to inspire people that want to become somebody like you in the future. And how do you actually get there? Because it's not easy. I've been in business for over 18 years. I was in corporate for over 10 years. And it was very, very hard. And if I had the chance to listen to a podcast where people will tell me how they did it, I would have done it a lot faster and easier. right?
Sure.
So tell me, what what was in your mind when you were finishing high school? Where were you and what do you wanted to do with your life?
Sure, yeah. So as I growing up as a child, I was into everything. I wanted to do everything. Not that I was perfect at everything, but I wanted to dance. I wanted to do sports. I played volleyball. I played badminton. Um, you know, played at state level, district level, um, and wanted to study and wanted to be independent and confident, and grow. So as I finished schooling, I wanted to be a doctor at first. And that didn't work out for various reasons, whether it was, you know, the education was not affordable. Going for MBBS was not affordable. I made a mistake in my form and couldn't land into the MBBS path. So decided to take a left turn. My dad, who was really great at mathematics, ran all of his permutations and combinations and got me into a great university through the way he filled out the forms for the university. So I had to opt for scholarship. So I ended up in a top engineering college, all thanks to my dad. And yeah, from hoping to becoming a doctor to then finally ended up being an engineer instead. Uh, Maths was not my friend, but I persevered through it and got out of there.
Mhm.
But what really was a turning point was I did get picked up in a campus interview, where companies came on campus into my engineering college, and they picked up students for their first job. So I hit Infosys for my first software engineering job. So I was a mainframes developer to begin with, and then became a technology analyst, a tech lead. From there, decided to shift a little bit more towards the business analysis area versus going the pure technical path. I felt like I had um, I just had this ability to communicate and liaise between tech and product. So really started taking the business analysis path, and then became a product owner, product manager for Optum. And then for UHC, I led a platform, a PaaS platform for dental, where I led a team of 46 plus. I grew the team from 8 to 46, did both tech delivery and product management at the same time for 7+ years. So yeah, it was interesting that I was not meant to be an engineer, not meant to be where I was, but I just wanted to take
Mhm.
whatever opportunity came my way. I just grabbed it and said, let's do it.
And that alone makes this podcast worth its weight on gold, because what you just mentioned is something that a lot of people get stuck with in life, and they get frustrated and they complain instead of doing something about their situation. So you're
Right.
saying that you wanted to become a doctor, you couldn't get into schooling for doctor, for becoming a medical doctor, and then you got into software engineering. Like, it's completely different. My sister is a doctor. She's about to retire as a doctor. She's been a doctor all her life. And I have always been a software engineer all my life. And I see her life and my life, and they couldn't be more different. You
Right.
saved yourself thousands of hours on ER rooms and doing
Oh, sure.
shifts.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that.
But
And it's funny that I wanted to be a doctor, and then I couldn't get that entrance exam, right? And I had this time period between becoming a doctor to, entering the engineering space where I was like, should I go audition for something? Should I just go be an air hostess, right? So tried so many things, and I think it's all about destiny. It's just, as long as you try, you're going to get a path that you want to be on, right? It's just about trying. So it worked out.
but that's the thing, right? And not getting stuck with one idea.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love it when people tell me I am flexible. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have an idea for your career, for your life, and then somehow you end up in another path. And look at you now, a senior director in a company that is completely changing, revolutionizing healthcare.
Yes.
The
Yes.
one thing that I was just talking to somebody, a successful banker, entrepreneur in England, and he told me one thing that impacted me. He said, when you are healthy, you have 1,000 goals. But when you lose your health, you only have one goal, to
Mm-hmm.
become healthy again.
Healthy
Isn't that
again.
true?
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, having that flexibility in life is beautiful. I wasn't the best at math either, but I always fell in love with automation, with logic. Like, there is
Me as
nothing
well.
more exciting for me than teaching a computer how to learn, and then get the computer to do what I needed to do over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. I'm better than I used to do it. It's beautiful, but it required a lot of math, a lot of physics too, because like the first 2 years of engineering is a lot of physics too. And I'm
Oh
like,
yes.
oh, it's hard. But instead of thinking about how hard it was, I decided to enjoy it. I was never the best at math or physics, but I did it. But I
Exactly. Yeah, it
always
was
loved
just about
computers.
just getting through it. And then the ultimate goal was, making a living and being independent. For women, it was not easy back then. It was, at least from the community I came from, I probably was the only engineer in my village, which we didn't live in our village a lot. My dad traveled a ton. He was with L&T, so he kept moving from one state to the other. So that made it even more challenging because I had to learn different languages every time he moved back in India, because every state has a different language. So, but then that also gave a different, drive from within to become independent, from seeing women that were so dependent on their spouses to make a living, or just to live a life, which was another factor of trying to get to a point where you can be super independent, right? So yeah.
And tell me, how do you balance that? Because having a successful career and having a husband and a kid is one of the toughest things a lady has to go through. How do
Yes.
you make it happen? Because you look very happy.
I I do. That's great. It's challenging. It's definitely challenging. I think it's my passion for work. I enjoy work. I don't work to just make a living or to just have a job. It just gives me truly. Um, it, it's fulfilling to be at
Mm.
my desk on time, work at the toppest productivity level that I can. But that also means when I am with my kid, I'm giving him 100%. So as long as I'm giving my family and my work the equal importance to some extent, right? And obviously family is far more far more than work, but it's just being able to give them 100% every day. And I do fall short, right? I'm not always perfect, but just being there, making sure his meals are ready, making sure he's ready to go, making sure I have attention to him, attention to my husband, and that helps balancing it out. And the other reason I feel okay, juggling multiple priorities with, such a demanding workspace is my husband. I mean, he's super, super supportive. He's always been supportive. We lived apart for 7+ years while we were trying to make the job, work, and our life. We were not at the same location because my husband is into the industrial engineering space and I'm in IT. So he always had jobs which were very rural areas or suburb areas, versus all of my companies were in the city spaces, right? So, and telecommuting was not a thing. So we used to always go back and forth and travel and meet over the weekends. So that level of understanding has always been there from doing that. And now that we're together, just that support system coming from him means a lot. And my in-laws too, they're always so supportive. Like my mom-in-law has always been super supportive. And I think it's just the family support that allows you to go above and beyond and not get super stressed out or super drained out or burned out, because that they're there. So that's helpful. I know that was a long answer, but yeah.
But it's a great answer, because that's called leadership. So once this is a podcast about technology, but especially about leadership. So
Yep.
if you are a great leader at work, but you're not a good leader at home, then you have a problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what does it matter if the Bible says, what does it matter if you gain the world if you lose your soul?
Exactly.
So that my point is, if you become this great entrepreneur or this great leader in technology, but you're messing up your family, then your fulfillment is half. You're not complete, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
tell me about the transition from you moving from India to the United States. You're in the States
Sure.
now, right?
Yes. So I moved to US in 2013, if I'm not wrong. So it's been 10 years now, over 10 years. Um, I came here with not being sure if I would ever be able to work again. And which is what a lot of women's come in here with, right? Because I got married, I followed my husband. And when I was leaving Infosys, I remember somebody said, "Are you sure you want to go? You'd be sitting at home caring for your child and not working. And you've had a great career of 4+ years with Infosys back in India." And I said, "No, let's see what I can do. I'll make something happen." And I landed here, and I had few months of sabbatical before I could decide whether I can work here or do I want to go back to Infosys. So I came here on a sabbatical, and I remember being so restless, David. I was super restless. I was like, oh my gosh, I spent these many years studying, and now I'm sitting at home. What am I going to do? Do I have, even a visa to work? I didn't have a visa to work. I didn't have a visa to study. And then I started, just exploring, finding ways to get back into the workspace. I pursued master's in information systems, managing information systems. So I did that
In the States.
in the States. So I came prepared. I had completed my GRE back in India, knowing that that could be my only pathway to working again. So came to US, applied for several universities, did a hybrid course, was able to study and then eventually, start working. My first job came from United Healthcare. Super grateful for that, which was, I think, my previous boss who had interviewed me, my first boss in the US, she interviewed me for 10 minutes, and I was like, "Are you sure?" I thought she was not going to take me. And the next day I get a call, and she goes, I decided in the first minute or so that I'm going to hire you, which was so incredible. But I remember being restless for a few months where I'm going, am I going to work again? I never watched a movie. I never watched a series. I didn't binge on anything. All I did was freelance, find ways to make sure I get back in the workspace. And the opportunity hit at the right time. And I just kept at it. It was exciting. It was tough times. It was tough.
And that's another great leadership skills, right? Like, you decide your future, you prophesy over your future, and then you get prepared so that you can make that future come true, right? So those goals, you wanted to get back to work. You didn't sit back and say, oh, I'm just going to watch TV. No, you figured out ways, right? You decided to go back to school and get a master's degree. So of course you were going to get a job after that, but you did what's required for you to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
And it's so important. You know how many people, I'm an immigrant too. I came from Guatemala. I came with a full computer science degree in 1991. I had already written a professional software for automating payroll back then in the late 80s. Came in 1991. Nobody will hire me as a developer because back then you needed to have a career in North America in order to get a job. So what did I do? I had two choices. I could drive a taxi or, work for retail all my life, or I could go back to university and do it all over again. And I did it.
Yep.
I did, another 4 or 5 years of schooling and a lot of hard work. My wife supported me, but that launched me to my next path in my career.
True. Yeah. And my husband too, like, he was so supportive. I remember we used to travel. I used to travel. I was working in Minneapolis, and towards the end of my master's, I was also working and studying. So I used to work 5 days a week and then take a flight for the weekend schooling, right? Classes. And my husband drove from where he was at. He was in Charleston. He drove all the way. So we met there every few weeks. or every week, I guess, for college. But yeah, fun times, but very, um, very rewarding at the end of the day, and not
Yeah.
couldn't have done it any differently. Wish had it easier. Wish I had it easier, but it wasn't. But it was totally worth it.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? Hard times. People are not willing to go through hard times and get disciplined in order to achieve the future of their dreams. I think, you said that you wish it would have been easier, but I kind of disagree with you because the harder it is for you to achieve a goal, the more you enjoy it when you get it.
Oh, for sure.
Isn't that
Yes.
true? Isn't that
Yes,
true?
it is. It is. It is. Yes.
I
Um,
remember when I had my first job, I couldn't believe it. My first job in Canada as a computer scientist, as a software developer. Back then in the early 90s, mid 90s, it wasn't like now, right? Like back then, the internet became something. In 1994, I remember downloading my first web page. So people were hiring developers like they hire, electric engineers. Yeah, you have jobs, but there's no many jobs, right?
how many?
And I
Mm-hmm.
had to send like 300 resumes by, my resumes like on snail mail, right? Because email
Mm-hmm.
wasn't popular yet.
Mm-hmm.
And from those 300 resumes, I had 5 job interviews. From that one, I got one job. And it
Yeah.
took me 4 months to get it. But I
Wow.
was persistent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to keep at
Totally.
it.
Exactly. So tell me, when was the first time in your career when uh, your company entrusted you with a team? When was the first time that you became a leader?
um, a couple times. So first time was very early on in the career. I was given an opportunity to manage sideways and directly. Um, and the biggest team I've had was with the dental experience that I, acquired a few for 7 years. Um, and I remember it started with one employee and due to organizational shifts. Um, and it was a great experience, just, helping and nurturing someone grow and showing them their true potential and learning what each individual is good at has been key to being able to make the most of the team. But at the same time, it was important for me. I learned very soon in the game that you can be aggressive and be respectful at the same time. You can be kind and not be weak, or you can be um, I, it was just respect and kindness and getting most from your team, um, without being rude or without being dominating, like really being that team player and that servant leader where you're just a partner, right, in the process. And I think that really showcased with the one person that I had reporting up to me, and then the team grew like to 2 and 3 and 4. And in this in a specific opportunity with United Healthcare, my ex-boss was leaving for a new opportunity, right? And I raised my hand and I said, I can do this. And everybody's like, are you sure? I said, yes, I can do this. Let me try it. And thankfully, the leaders around me recognized that and gave me that opportunity and said, sure, do it. So not every time everything comes without you saying it, right? You have to be your own advocate too. And you have to find the right sponsors for you. I was fortunate to
Mm.
find the right sponsors, and I was fortunate, and I guess not fortunate, but I was um, very mindful of advocating for myself, like always wanted to do it myself without waiting for someone to hand it over to me. And that's important
Mhm.
in your career. Like you can't just wait and hope that somebody's going to knock your door and say, do you want to do this? um, it's really you who speak for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And take the chances, right? Take the chances.
Hmm.
Talking about chances, what has been the biggest, most horrible problem that you ever had as a leader, and how do you overcome that?
Okay. The Let's see. Many of those, many. I have many ideas coming or thoughts coming to my mind. I think the biggest challenge has been, always hiring the right individual. Um, you can do a good job 98% of the time, but there's always that 2% where you could go wrong. And I think that's one area where I've always done well. I've always, invested in the right talent, brought the right talent to the team, right? Because bringing the right talent without any biases, while being culturally diverse, while acknowledging there's always going to be a little bit of room for a person coming into the organization to learn and grow, you can, hit the mark maybe 95% plus time, but there's going to be 1 or 2% where you may not hit the mark. And I've had that happen to me, right? Where every single hire performed, and then 1 or 2 hires where you're completely like shocked. What did I just do? And then, really correcting that action is really difficult too. Like, how do you reverse that now that somebody's foot is in the door, right? I feel that is one of the challenges that I faced that were toughest in the career. But otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, it's been pretty good.
But it's critical
Yeah.
because everything is about the team. A leader is the one that brings everybody together towards the same goal and achieve that goal for the organization you're working for. And it has happened to me many times too, where, I do all the job interviews actually to get people to work for my organization. I don't do that anymore. Thank God I have a large executive team now, and everything is done by the right department, but we still have 5 job interviews in order to get hired by my organization. And even with all those filters, once in a while, somebody gets in that clashes with other people. And that's a big problem, because if you don't figure that out fast enough, one bad apple will ruin the rest of the apples.
Exactly. And that's the biggest challenge, right? Where, yes, they may not be good at their work, but that can also affect a number of high performers that are around them, right? And they see it and they recognize it, right? And every single person on the team has certain expectations from their peers, and when those expectations are not met, there's a certain tension. Right. So it's so important for me to hire the right people, bring the right talent into the house each time. And like I said, like there have been 99% of the time when, I've had amazing leader come out of my organization doing so much more. I've been able to mentor them. But there have been, 1 or 2 times when things just haven't hit the mark. And that's really hard on me.
Yeah. You know what for me, what was even harder, hire a rock star as far as technology goes and performance, but the same person is a bully to their teammates. So,
yes.
Like a toxic, super smart person that doesn't want to play a game with the other team members. For me, that's even more dangerous than somebody that is not performing enough.
Sure.
The person that is not performing enough, if it's because of lack of technical knowledge, they can learn that. But if you have the right technologies with the wrong attitude, oh my God. It's so hard because after 2-3 months, you realize that they're amazing at their job, but everybody hates them.
Right.
And it's because they're a bully, or they just don't get along with the team, and they're the hardest to let go, but those are the ones that I let go the fastest.
Right.
It's hard. As a director, have you had the opportunity to raise leaders within your team? Like, have you been able to identify somebody that can become a leader? And how do you do that? And tell me an example about that.
Yes, I think really making sure, and I think a lot of people see succession planning as replacement planning, which is not true. Succession planning is really making sure where others have an opportunity to shadow you, to learn what you do, how you do it, and then bring their own perspective, own ways of doing the same things even better, in an even better way, right? So I've had opportunity to grow at least 4 to 5 leaders, that, we've promoted them into the next levels, have been able to justify why they are capable of becoming, and growing and emerging leaders within the organization. So I've had several opportunities to do that. I think what I like to do is, make sure that they're aware and having an honest conversation about the development planning, where they want to go in their career, what do they want to achieve. And there's no right or wrong answer. So I have this example of uh, a lady who, at first, my first conversation was, no, I'm good. I think I'm doing well. I don't want to do anything, beyond this. This is my comfort zone. And in my first conversation was, yeah, that's absolutely fine. This is, yours to own, right? And your career and your development path, you decide where you want to go. And soon, in 6 months, I don't know what, like, she was so inspired by how we ran the business, how we did things. She's like, I think I could flex myself a little bit. And then we, started seeing her growing, put her in a management position, had 2 to 3 people reporting up to her. She turned into a software development manager. And like in 3 months from there, she's like, I want to do something else. So it's just that, never, my learning has been never judge a person and their development plan by the moment in time, because it could change every 3 to 4 months. And that really helped me, like growing my team. We're really flexing to their comfort level when they want to go to their next step, when they don't want to go, where they're comfortable at, when they want to push beyond their, your comfort zones. So have had several opportunities, have hired people from side teams where they've, always kept a tab on me to say, what are you doing next? Do you have a position coming open? Can I join your team? I want to grow. So thankfully have had opportunities, and I think thankfully have had been able to, change a few people's career path in a good way.
That's one of the most important signs that you're an excellent leader. And that's why you're in this podcast, by the way. I knew that about you before. But when people want to join your team, when people are recognizing you as a thought leader, as a technical leader, and they say, I want to work for you because I know that if I work for you, I'm going to grow my career. I'm going to be able to add more value to my organization. That's, when that happens, you know that you're in the right path.
And it's even better when people can confidently come to you and say, hey, I want to do something different. I know I'm doing really well in this team right now, but can you help me to pave a path to somewhere else? And that's even bigger, because I've had a person who, not directly on my team, but on the side teams, had come to me and said, I'm in operations now, but I want to become a business analyst or a systems analyst. And just, sharing a few thoughts and asking them to redo their resume, speaking to how to get there. In a few months, he became a systems analyst in a different part of the organization. So it's so rewarding to see people like just having a few conversations with you, taking those follow-ups, right? And then making the best of their life, and then looking back at you and going, thank you, that was a great advice. So in which I've got several from my, leaders as well. So I'm grateful for theirs as well, but yeah.
Wonderful. So what's next for you? What's in your career path? What are your next goals and achievements? What do you want to get? Where do you want to get?
I think at this point in time, I just recently changed jobs. I was with UHC for a long time and then recently moved to the fintech space with this organization at Optum. It's been 4 months. So I have a lot to learn because I've been changing industries too, like it's domain change. I went from provider expert being, expert in practice management systems and payers and platforms to now consumer platforms and, really getting closer to direct to consumer, business to business and things like that. So for me at this point in time is growing in my current role and then really building upon the executive presence. learning new ways of doing things. I've always seen the big picture, but really putting another set of toolkit, another set of tools in my toolkit with fintech and product management experience and leadership roles is where I'm headed. I don't have a specific goal of I want to be a CIO or a CEO or a CTO someday at this point in time. Maybe someday, but I feel like there is a path that I just want to keep marching forward on. Yeah, and right now I just want to make sure that my business, which is currently on a real growth trajectory, and there's tremendous work that my current leadership is driving. I just want to make sure that I give my 200% and help them deliver those goals.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being in the show, Reshma. I'm gonna end the podcast with one last question. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you run in it to inspire people?
Let's see. Never turn down an opportunity. It could be your next golden one. Because to me is like, doors don't always open for everyone, and when they do, don't turn a back on them. So it would be never turn down an opportunity.
Beautiful. And if you look at your career path, you have been doing that since the beginning, since you went for engineer when you wanted to become a doctor. You never turned down that opportunity, which
I just went with the flow.
Worked out well for you, right?
Yes, it has been. It was challenging with my mom has schizophrenia. I can't even say that word. And it was a lot of struggle as growing up, but it really brought a lot of wisdom. And I think that has shown throughout the journey where, once you are able to adapt within your homes and the challenges, you automatically start adapting outside and being flexible in the world. So important nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. And the world is changing so fast that only the ones who are able to adapt are the ones that are going to keep thriving. The ones that want to stay the status quo and they want to change, they're going to stay behind and they're going to suffer a lot. So that's incredible. For the audience, if you would like to ask you questions, where can they find you online?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, Reshma O. And LinkedIn is the best place to find me. Just search and send me a request or send me a question and I'll respond.
Wonderful. Reshma, thank you so much for your time. God bless you and keep being that amazing leader that you are.
Thank you for the opportunity, David. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.